hello everyone. We're just going to do a quick mic check. Also, while we are doing the mic check, I want to remind you guys that we have our schedule in the description of our video today. I'll show you how to get there in 1 second. If you can hear me, please say that you can hear me in chat. Okay. All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome. We are starting our 2 o'clock live stream for writing. Okay. I've also been fiddling with the settings, so hopefully we will no longer have problems with mobile. Okay, just one more time, testing 1, 2, 3. I see that we have 0 people here, which makes me sad. If you are here, please say hello. Let me just make sure that this is in fact public. It is. It's just that no one is here. No one wants to see me. So sad. Alright, well, we are going to get started. Today's live stream is us making a task 1 together. Let me just rearrange this really fast. Again, if anyone is there, please say hello, so that it is not so lonely. Okay. 3 people in chat. Welcome. Hi, guys. Say hello if you are here, and tell me also if you can see this clearly. Hello, Hussein. Welcome. Okay. Thank you for joining us. All right. I'm going to make one more small adjustment on the screen just to make it a little bit more clear for you guys. And okay. All right, guys, now that we have an audience, let's get started. Thank you so much for letting me know. I'm also assuming that my voice is clear. If you guys have any problems with the video or audio, please let me know in chat. Alright, to get started, the very first thing that I want to say is I want to remind you guys that you guys can send us your own writings and recordings at our email. If you guys go to the IELTS Grind and go to our video, which you are watching right now, please remember to click that like button. But also, well, don't want that. Okay. And first of all, you can see where we will be working in this document. It's open for everyone. And this is where we will be writing our essay together. Anyone can come over here and look. Also, down here we have our weekly schedule and our full schedule right here. This is a web page that Phil worked hard to make useful for you guys. We have Taipei time, which is where we are based, along with where our students are. If your time is not up here, please let us know. We will be happy to add it. And you can see that the full schedule is here. One last thing that I want to point out is you can send us your own essays here. I highly recommend you guys do this. Especially because we will make a model essay together with my help. But if you want to know if your essay is okay, send it to us. All right, without further ado, let's get started. This is changeover times using maps. The first thing that we are going to do is look at the basics, and then look at some common mistakes, and then finally we will make an essay together. So, Most of you guys already know this, 150 words for task 1. You have 20 minutes to write it, but really you have less than that amount of time because you need to analyze what you're writing about and then also proofread. So really you should be writing 150 words in about 10 minutes or 15 minutes. It is graded by task achievement, cohesion and coherence, lexical resource, and grammar. Task achievement is, did you follow the instructions? Did you write 150 words? Did you find the most important features? Cohesion and coherence, did you connect your ideas together well? Lexical resource is vocabulary. Did you use high-level vocabulary? Did you use the right collocations? And did you use it correctly? And finally, grammar is the same as vocab, except with grammar. But that's the basics. You guys probably want to know more about this, the common problems with change over time. These are the 4 most common problems that I see, and you guys have probably done this in your own essays. So, describe changes but not locations. Many students do this, where they look at the map and they see all the things that changed, and they say what the changes are, but they don't say where the changes happened. And that will definitely lower your score because you're not doing your task achievement. You're not doing what you're supposed to be doing. Second thing is sometimes they describe the locations but not the changes. This happens less often. This is a really big one. For all of task 1 essays, you are not describing the graph, you are describing the data. So the only time you should ever say the graph or the map is in your intro. You should never use this word map in your body 1 or your body 2. So you're not describing the map, you need to describe the area. And finally, misuses spatial vocabulary. Spatial vocabulary is vocabulary that says where things are. So for example, the computer is in front of me, Phil is behind me, oh God! In front of my house there is a major road. This is all spatial vocabulary. And I know that it's hard. This is why a lot of students hate task 1 describing change over time using maps. And it's because this vocabulary is always hard to learn. When I was learning Chinese, I hated learning spatial vocabulary. When I was learning Spanish, I hated learning spatial vocabulary. It's just hard to wrap your head around. So this is something you do need to learn for this task. So what you should do when you're writing your essay, make sure that you describe the changes and the locations, both of them. Don't describe the map, describe the area. And finally, learn sentence frames for describing an area. This is what we will be doing today. We will put all of this together to make it very clear for you. By the way, hello Naz, welcome, thanks. I am happy to see you in chat. I'm also happy to see 7 people here. So if you guys want to be a super student like Naz, just say hello in chat. The more the merrier. Also, I forgot to say, I have some good news. More than 5 people have left a comment that says you want another speaking video. So I will do as I promised. This week, I will do 1 more speaking video, and if it continues to be popular, I will continue to do it next week as well. This week, on Sunday, I will be doing the speaking video for technology, so I hope to see you guys there. Okay. Now, let's check to see if you understood what this means. Now, this next part, I do need you guys to tell me in chat so that I know that you understand. I'm going to put a sentence on the screen, and in chat, I need you to tell me if you think it is a good description or a bad description of this map. So I'm going to put this up here just for a moment so that you guys can see. Remember, all of you guys can look at this yourself. It is open to anyone. Anyone on the internet can look at this. And again, you can find that here. If you just click this link, it will bring you to the map. Okay, so looking at this map, I'm going to put a sentence on the screen. There is a At the top, there is a garden. Do you think that this is a good sentence or a bad sentence? At the top, there is a garden. Is this good for this graph? I'm going to give you 1 minute to think and write your answer in chat, and then I will tell you. There's a garden at the top. Do you think this is good or bad? And I'll write it down here so that you guys can see. And welcome, Anonymous Rhino. There is a garden at the top. All right, Naz says bad. Do you guys agree with Naz? Naz, super student, you are right. This is bad. Why is it bad? And next time you guys say if it's good or bad, please say why in the chat as well. Okay. It is bad because if you say at the top, you are describing. Naz, that is a good comment. At the top actually here means what the student is trying to say is at the top of the map there is a garden. But remember, your job is not to describe the map. Your job is to describe the area. So we don't say top, bottom, or below. These are describing the picture, but we're not describing the picture. We're not describing the map. Let's look at the next one. Below the garden, there is a museum. Is this good or bad? And remember, you should be brave like Naz. Say in chat if you think this is good or bad and why. I will give you 1 minute. Okay, so looking at this map, there is a garden. There is a museum below the garden. Is that okay? What do you guys think? Is this sentence, there is a museum below the garden, good or bad? All right. Some shy people in chat today. It is bad, just like the previous sentence. You are describing the picture, not the area. And actually, this is a better example of what Naz was saying before. If you say that there is a museum below the garden, if we draw a picture, that means that there is a museum here, and then underneath the museum there is a garden. Very strange. All right, only 2 more. Left of the natural history room, there is a local theater. Ah, Shoki. That is a good correction. There is a museum adjacent to the garden. So that is better because we are using the right vocabulary. Adjacent to is much better than below or above, because it works with this area. You're describing an area. The only problem with that one, Shoki, is that it is not saying how it is connected. But let's see if we can fix that with the next one. Left of the natural history room, there is a local theater. And Shoki, thank you so much for being brave. You are a super student, just like Naz. What did I say? Left of the natural history room. And I do see, so please tell me if this sentence is right or wrong for this description, for this map. And Naz says, can you say there is a museum just beside the garden? If you were describing a larger map, I think that would be okay. In this case, just because it's a very small map and there is only garden and museum, that wouldn't quite be the best thing to say. That would be a good 6, even a 7 because it's grammatically correct, but it's not very accurate. I mean, it's correct, but it's not the best thing to say. We will be looking at some of those soon. But is left of the natural history room there is a lecture theater? So that's describing over here. Is this good or bad, and why? Shoki, what do you think? Naz too. Okay, so we are losing people. People are getting bored of this. So, you guys will see that it's the same problem. Left of the natural history room, there is a local theater. Is again not correct because you're describing the map, not the area. The exhibition hall was turned into a canteen and a toilet. What's the problem with that one? The problem is that exhibition hall, canteen and toilet, but you don't say where the exhibition hall is. So that's another big problem. Next up, there was a corridor in the middle of the museum. This is actually correct, but it's not saying if it's in the middle, left to right, or north to south, or east to west. Okay. And Shoki, thank you so much for saying that. But left of the Natural History Museum, we use left to describe, like, if you're describing where you are and what's to the left of you, that works. If you're describing a map, left or right works. But if you're describing an area, you are not here, so we can't use left and right. Okay. So let's keep going, and let's look at the best things to say instead. So, these are the correct sentences. To the north of the museum, there was a garden. North is the right word to use when you're describing an area. We usually use cardinal directions. North, south, east, west. Also, make sure you say to the north. We use to the north to say this is the object. And then north of the object is a garden. Please be careful, there's a big difference between to the north and in the north. Okay. South of the garden, found at the top of the given area, was a museum. So, south of the garden, there was a museum. Found at the top of the given area, this is a really good sentence frame for you guys to be using. This is a clause, found at the top of the given area. This is describing the garden. So top is okay if you're saying of the given area. If you just say top, it sounds like you're describing the map. And actually, no, we need to change that a little bit. That's disgusting. At the top of the given area, that's wrong. We would say in the north of the given area. Okay. Next up, to the west of the natural history room, a new wing was added. So this is a good phrase to learn for describing changes which contained a lecture theater. And then the exhibition hall was relocated to the front of the museum, which had been the foyer in 1880. The canteen and the new toilet location replaced it. The canteen and the new toilet location replaced it. Alright, so these are some high-level sentences that are describing the map. we are going to be working on them together. Also, in 1880, a corridor ran down the center of the museum. So this is what I mean about learning spatial vocabulary. Ran down the center. We use run for rivers, roads, and long straight things like corridors. So ran down the center of the museum, which connected it to the foyer, which was the front of entrance of the museum, probably in, yeah. Okay, so as we can see, we have a lot of relative clauses that we can use that describe where things are, and we're also describing the changes. Let's move on and actually write this essay on our own. Now, I would love it if you guys gave advice of sentences to use, or gave your own sentences, but if you guys just want to be here for the ride, that's perfectly okay. So, this is the model. This is the model answer. And first thing that we need to do is we need to analyze it. Also, we can see right now it is 2:24 where I live. So let's see if we can write this in 20 minutes. So we're going to give ourselves 5 minutes to analyze this. So I can see that there's 2 times 1880 and 2020. These are both in the past because it's 2021. So I need to be using past tense. I can see that in the beginning, the garden is completely surrounding the museum, and we can see that it is a museum up here. And there's a corridor running down the center from north to south. There's a foyer at the entrance, and then there are 5 rooms around it. And then what's changed is there are 2 new rooms that were added on either side of the northern wing, and then the corridor was moved, and it looks like you can only reach the ancient Egypt exhibition through the local history exhibition. Okay. And then the garden was changed to a picnic area. So the first thing that we should always do is analyze the map and see what changed and where the changes happened. So changes happened here and here. And the building didn't change except for the wings. Okay. And I would say that the biggest changes happened in the northern part of the given area. And this is the given area. All right, I think we have analyzed it enough. By the way, some different ways that you can organize it is you could have body 1 be about 1880, and then body 2 be about the changes. The reason why that format works very well is because if you describe where the things are in body 1, you don't need to say where things are in body 2. And please zoom in on the map. Okay. Is this better, Nas? And by the way, please let me know if it is blurry. And remember, if it is hard to see, you guys can always see this by going here to find our video. So the IELTS Grind, hi guys. Also, please, I always recommend that you guys, if you guys are watching from the past, I recommend you guys always press live so that you can say hi. But if it is hard to see, I highly recommend that you click on the document link so that you can see the map yourself. Okay. So let's continue. Okay, great. Let's continue. First thing we need to do is we need to write our intro. So remember, your intro is always taking this line and summarizing it or rephrasing it. The plans below show a museum when it first opened in 1880 and the same museum in 2020. So we would say the changes made to a museum between 1880, when it was first opened. Okay, between when it opened in 1880 and 2020 are illustrated in the given plans. Okay, if you didn't want to say plans, you could say maps. Please be careful. What I did here was I changed it from active voice, show. I changed the word from show to illustrated, but I also went from active voice, where it goes subject, verb, object, to object, be, verb. Also, given plans, this is a really common mistake that students make, where it always says below here in the prompt. And that's because below the prompt, there is the map. But if I'm writing my essay, is there a map below my essay? No. So you should not use the word below there. Given is a really, really nice word that says the map's provided. You could say given, you could say provided. Just don't say below. Please don't say below. Please be careful. Don't say below in your essay, because there is nothing below your essay. Next, we need our overview. Overall. Now, this can be, your overview can be it can be in the same paragraph as paragraph 1, or you can make it separate. I always like to make my first paragraph the intro, my second paragraph the overview, and then the third paragraph is body 1, and the fourth paragraph is body 2. I like to do that because you need to have a clear overview. If you do not have a clear overview, then the highest grade you can get is a 5. Even if you have 8 in vocab, an 8 in grammar, and an 8 in CC, if you have no overview, your task achievement will only be 5. So, your overview should always describe the main changes that you see. So, for example, you could say that there weren't many changes. You could say how the museum expanded. Okay. Or you can describe which area, the northern part or the southern part, or the eastern part, or the eastern part, or the western part, had the biggest changes. I'm going to go with the northern part had the most significant changes. The most significant changes occurred is a higher level way of saying happened, in the northern half of the given area. Now, it's perfectly fine to use given again, but I just want to show you guys that you can say provided, okay, in the given area. So, now, I could be saying body 1 in 1880, body 2 in 2020, but I actually want to try to break this up so I do northern half and then southern half, just so that it connects better with my overview. Both ways are perfectly fine if you want to do body 1, body 2, or body 1, body 2. I'm just choosing this one because I think it flows better. So, body 1. I'm going to talk about the northern half. First, I will say the general things, and I think that would probably be how the building expanded. So, between 1880 and 2020, the northern half of the museum was expanded. 2 additional wings were added on either side of the previously rectangular building. So this is another thing that I want you guys to be aware of. Try to describe what you see as well. This will also be adding you bonus points in your essays. And this is because I'm describing the shape of the building. This resulted in the entire building taking on more of a T shape. Okay. Also, I should describe what actually happened. So, the original 3 rooms were transformed into one large room. Original 3 rooms in 1880 were transformed into a single room. The natural history room. Okay. So we could say that, or we could talk about how the natural history room was expanded to take up the entire room. Okay. Hello, Raghav. Welcome. Thank you for joining. If you guys have any questions, or if I'm going too fast, or if you want me to explain a sentence, just let me know. One thing that I always recommend students do, by the way, is when you're looking at a model answer, make sure you can match it directly to the map. Every sentence that I'm writing directly connects to the map. So whenever you are on your own looking at model answers for essays, for example, if you bought a book, then you can look at each sentence and point directly on the map what it's describing. If you do that over and over again, it will help you start to understand how to use this vocabulary. Okay. So I'm actually going to change this. The original 3 rooms were transformed into a single room. As the original natural history room was expanded. Okay. Also, I want to say where it was. So the original natural history room found in the northwest corner of the building. So that was found in the northwest corner of the building. Was expanded. Now, this is a little bit of high-level grammar right here. You don't need to say this, and the sentence will still be fine. All right. So, we said that it was transformed from 3 rooms to 1 room. And the second clause was saying the natural history room that was in the northwest corner, so northwest corner, was expanded. Next up, we should talk about the wings. in the 2 new wings. And wings describe, like, if you have a house and then you build a new room on one side or the other side, we call those wings or extensions or expansions. Wings is the best word to use here. Hold the lecture hall. Was there a lecture hall before? No. Hold a new lecture hall, canteen, and toilet. Hold the lecture hall in the west, and the canteen and new toilet location in the east. Now there's one more. So sorry, we won't say in. So the 2 new wings hold, so that we use this word to describe what is in them. Hold the lecture hall in the west, and the new toilet locations in the east. So west has the lecture hall, east has the canteen, and the new toilet location. Now there's one last thing that we should mention, and that is how we went from garden to picnic area. Now remember, we have our 3 no's. We have no I, no why, and no conclusion. But you can talk about results. So, for example, if I say the garden was replaced by a picnic area because they wanted more families to come. This, for garden and picnic area, this is bad. Okay, this is bad because we are guessing. We are making a guess and we say, I think that this is why they built it. However, you can say the result. So, for example, if I say that the garden was changed to a picnic area when it was cut off by the construction of the new wings. Area after it was cut off from the other gardens by the construction the new wings. Okay, so we can see here, originally there was a garden just completely surrounding the building, but because they added these wings, it's no longer connected. Garden, wing, picnic area, wing, garden. So that is when it changed. So we are going to take this sentence, because it's quite good, and add it down here. All right. Now, we talked about the northern half, and we can see that this is quite a big paragraph because there was a lot to talk about. So this second paragraph we are going to find is a lot shorter. We're just going to talk about the bottom, and we will say how the corridor was moved, the local history, the corridor and the local history room were switched, and the ancient Egypt room was expanded. Okay. So in contrast, the changes made to the southern half of the building were quite minor. The corridor, which had originally run the length of the building in 1880 was cut in half and moved to and switched places with the local history room. So again, I want to point out here that this is a clause that is describing the corridor. So which had originally run. I also want to point out that we use the vocab word run to, again, describe corridor. So this is what I mean when I'm saying you guys need to be learning the grammar and vocab for this. There are certain words that we use with certain spatial vocabulary. Again, if you guys have any questions, or if I'm going too fast, or if you want simpler sentences, please let me know, and I will be more than happy to help you out here. All right. So we talked about how these switched, and the ancient Egyptian room was expanded. Meanwhile, the ancient Egyptian exhibit was expanded when the toilet was moved and is now only accessible via the local history room. Finally, the foyer that was to the south that was the southern entrance of the building was transformed into the main exhibition hall. All right, and that is it. Okay, and you want me to repeat the corridor sentence? So the corridor, which had originally run the length of the building in 1880, so the corridor, it ran down the middle, and it ran the length of the building. It did not run the length of the building. If it ran the length of the building, that would mean it went from here to here, which means it's wrong. Oh, I'm so embarrassed. This is actually an example of something that can lower your score. So it would raise my vocab score because it's a very high level way to be describing a space, to run the length of the building. However, it would lower my task achievement score because it's wrong. So that ran, which originally ran, past tense, had run, sorry, which had originally run most of the length of the building. So we have fixed it. In 1880, was cut in half and switched places with the local history room. So cut in half means that it was this long and now it is half as long. Cut in half and switch places with the local history room. So you guys can see that this sentence is describing a lot. And this is how you get a very, very high level essay. If you guys would like, I can do an essay later where I do the same thing but with lower level vocabulary that would help people who are aiming for maybe a 6. This is a 7 or an 8 right here. I also want to point out that body 1 is significantly longer than body 2 because there were more significant changes in the north. One last thing that we should be looking out for is, do we describe the change and the location? So we said the change was in the northern half, and it changed to more of a T shape. Okay? So I'm describing where and what the change is. Second, the original 3 rooms were transformed into a single room. And we talked about the original history room found in the northwest corner of the building. Okay, so again, we said the change and we said where. So the 2 new wings, this is again talking about the 2 wings that were changed. We already said them. So the wings that were added, and then in the west and in the east. So we did a really good job in body 1 describing both what the change was and where it happened. And the garden was changed into a picnic area after it was cut off from the other gardens. So was changed is good. However, we are missing something. We didn't say where the garden was. So we do need to add that information. The garden that was to the north of the building in 1880. So again, it was bad that we did not say this, because you need to say where it happened. Now, we knew that the garden was in the north because the whole paragraph is talking about the northern half, but this garden is in the northern half and this garden is also in the northern half. So we should be more specific. The garden that was found, and this is to go along with what one of you guys said, that was directly to the north. So I'm saying exactly where it is. That was directly to the north of the building in 1880, was changed into a picnic area after it was cut off from the other gardens by the construction of the new wings. So this last part is describing how these gardens disappeared. Originally we knew it was a garden surrounding the building, but because they added a wing, no more garden, no more garden. All right, so do we continue to do that in the others? So we know that we're talking about the southern half of the building. This is why it is important to proofread, so that you do not make simple mistakes like that one. So in contrast, the changes made to the southern half of the building were quite minor. So this is really good for task achievement because I'm comparing, what's a good color? Pink, okay. I'm comparing the northern part to the southern part. I'm using comparative language. Okay. So the quarter, which had originally run most of the length of the building in 1880, was cut in half. We talked about this one already and switched places with the local history room. So we should actually add a little bit more detail here, because run which had originally run down the middle most of the length of the building. Again, we're adding more information to say exactly where it is. If we didn't say down the middle, it could have been here, it could have been here, You need to say where and the change. Okay. And then finally, these last sentences were not too difficult. So the exhibit was expanded when the toilet was moved and is now only accessible via the local history room. All right, now we are missing something here, aren't we? If I say the ancient Egyptian exhibit was expanded, do you know where the ancient Egyptian exhibit is? You don't, not unless you go back and look at the map. But remember, you always need to write this essay as if the examiner does not have the map in front of them. I like to use this little story example to help my students understand this. Imagine when you are writing task 1 that you are in a college lecture class. You and your best friend are in a college lecture class. And your friend was very lazy. He didn't go to class very often. And so you were in class. Your friend was not in class because he was sleeping. And the professor said, this graph right here, or this map right here, is extremely important for your final exam. You need to know it for 50% of your final exam. Remember it. And unfortunately, your phone was out of battery, so you couldn't take a picture. So you had to write down a description of what you see and give it to your friend so that he can be ready for the final exam. Only write what you can see. Don't add information that isn't there, and pretend that the examiner does not have the map. So again, that would hurt my task achievement score. Now, this whole essay is very strong because it's written by a native speaker who has practiced writing IELTS essays for years and years and years. So the essay itself is quite strong. This is a minor detail, but this would be something that would stop me from getting a 9 just because I didn't have this essential information. So meanwhile, the ancient Egyptian exhibit found northeast of the foyer. Found northeast of the foyer in 1880. So again, we need to say where the change was taking place. Okay. Was expanded when the toilet was moved and is now accessible only via the room. Now, this is just a little bit of extra information. Having this kind of information is how you get your 8 or your 9. If you didn't have this information, you could still get a 6 or a 7. Don't worry too much about that. And then finally, the foyer that was the southern entrance of the building. Okay, it was the entrance, and it was in the southern entrance of the building, was transformed into the main exhibition hall. So I said where it was, and I said what was changed. All right, guys. Now, do you guys have any questions about writing this kind of essay? Do you guys want to see more example sentences? Do you want me to explain anything again? Again, remember guys, you guys can, in the live stream, click this document and read it at your own pace on your own time. You guys can see this essay and you guys can write it yourself. And after you write it yourself, you can send it to corrections@theieltsgrind.com and me and Phil will make a live stream about it. Do you guys have any questions? I know that it's been a bit of a long stream, but you guys have been doing great so far if you're still here. But I will take 1 or 2 minutes to see if anyone has any questions for me about this kind of essay. Again, the vocabulary and the grammar I was using was kind of high level. So again, if you guys would like me to give you some lower level but correct sentence frames that you guys can learn, just let me know. Raghav, Chico, or Naz? Any questions, guys? All right. Well, thank you so much for joining. Remember that you guys can look at the schedule both here or here. And you guys can see. Thank you, Naz. I hope it wasn't too boring, and I hope that the sentences were not too high level or too difficult. If you guys also want, you guys can learn how to change those sentences to describe other things, and you guys can leave those in the comments. As you guys can see, this is our only live stream for today, but tomorrow at 7, Phil will be doing the same thing where he will be writing an essay with you guys for an opinion essay. All right, you guys have been fantastic. Thank you so much for joining, and I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day. Peace, guys!